Hello. So today we're going to address the third chapter, which is a shorter chapter of Aristotle's Art of Rhetoric. This chapter is focused on further subdividing, as Aristotle tends to do, the subject matter. In this case, the divisions are by the types of listeners to a given person's speech or oration. So he begins by saying in any given speech there are three elements. The first is the speaker, the second is the subject that's been spoken about, and the third is the hearer. And interestingly, he says that the hearer is the person that determines the speech's end and also its object. So it's not relevant what the speaker thinks he's saying or what he thinks his object is. It's the hearer or the person on the other side of the speech who's listening that ultimately arbitrates on what he thinks he's saying and what the object of the speech is. And that, of course, is a very pragmatic way to look at it, because this book is concerned with effective communication. But you could argue that someone's intentions do count. But in reality, of course, it's not the intentions, but the received motivation or suspected motivation of the hearer that determines what happens going forward. So from there he describes several types of hearers. A hearer can be a judge. So judges are concerned in the time dimension with both past things that have happened and then, based on what's happened in the past, what will happen in the future. A juryman is concerned with the past, ascertaining the facts of a case, and then he also speaks of assemblymen who are concerned with the future, so for matters of policy or in business on the board, matters of strategy. And then there are also simple observers, and their purpose is to judge the skill of the orator. And he, related to these various audiences, he divides speeches into three divisions. The first are political speeches, and political speeches are speeches that urge people to either do something or to not do something, and they are concerned with expediency, whether something will be good for us or bad for us. Not necessarily in the moral sense, but more in the sense of practically, will it be good for us? Will it be good for our nation? And then forensic speaking is concerned with either attacking or defending a party, and that revolves around the virtue of justice. And then finally, ceremonial oratory or unceremonial oratory is concerned with honouring or dishonouring someone, praising or censoring them in the present. And all speeches in Aristotle's view come under one of those three main umbrellas. Then Aristotle goes to describe that you can tell what type of speech someone is making by the end that they're getting at. So if someone's speech is primarily political, they'll be trying to get you to take a particular course of action primarily, and they may not concern themselves whether the course of action is a just one or whether the course of action is a right thing to do per se. They'll be more alluding to the fact that this course of action is useful for you, it's helpful for you, it will make you richer, and so on. It will affect your enemies, for a ceremonial speech, on the other hand, the speech will be more about people doing what's honourable or what's right, not necessarily what benefited them. And he draws on the Iliad here by mentioning Achilles, who, out of love for his friend Patroclus, he championed his friend Patroclus and he avenged his death, knowing very well that would lead to his own death. So that wasn't politically an astute thing to do. but it was an honourable thing to do. And in a ceremonial speech, they'll be focused on the fact that he sacrificed his life for the good. Whereas a politician would say that that was a naive thing to do and he should have focused on living. And then Aristotle, continues the discussion of the methods of rhetoric from the second chapter. Those methods are complete proofs, which are syllogisms, which can either be fallible syllogisms, i.e. syllogisms that are logically erroneous, or they can be true syllogisms. Then there are probabilities and signs. So probabilities about things that are likely to happen, or things that are attendant to other things in the future. And then signs are what we mentioned in the prior video. They are epiphenomena of a phenomena, or purported epiphenomena of a phenomena that people use to make their case. For example, if you caught someone at a crime scene and they were out of breath, you may say that they were escaping the crime scene because they are the perpetrator, whereas they may have just been out of breath because they had an asthma attack, or maybe they were jogging. So that would be a sign, but it would be a fallible sign, because there are instances where that sign doesn't invariably lead to the cause of the argument, of the cause purported by the person making the argument. So then Aristotle also mentions that when we're making arguments, either ceremonial arguments or political arguments or forensic arguments, we also have to have a sense of proportion and magnitude. So he says, if we want to argue that one course of action or one policy is better than another, then we will compare that policy to the alternatives, in their outcomes, in their expediency. Similarly, for honour or praising someone, we will take their actions and we'll compare it to someone else, and we'll say that what they did here is more outstanding than someone else. So it's about being able to compare the greatness or smallness of a given action in order to make your point. So that's so much for chapter 3. The next chapter is concerned with kind of more particular lines of argument you can use in either of those 3 subdivisions of oratory for their given ends. So we'll leave it here, and hopefully I'll be able to upload the monologue on chapter 4 in a short time. Thank you.